winning in his junior year. Walker led Georgia to a national championship with a victory over Notre Dame in the 1981 Sugar Bowl. Walker played professional football for 16 years with the New Jersey Generals of the United States Football League and in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles, and New York Giants. Walker is the only NFL player to gain at least 4,000 yards 3 different ways: rushing, receiving, and kickoff returns. While still active as an NFL player, Walker competed in the 1992 Winter Olympics in France as a member of the U.S. two-man bobsled team. Walker and his teammate Brian Scheimer placed 7th with an overall time of 4:03.95, just 0.69 seconds behind gold medalist Switzerland. Walker was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame in 1999. Thank you, Herschel, for bringing joy to so many sports fans and working with students and prospective so special.
First of all, let me acknowledge my Lord Jesus Christ, because he said he's not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to knock, and I want him to let me in. I want to thank the All Sports Association and say congratulations to all the winners. But I also want to tell you this little story about this man that had these 2 little twin boys. One little boy was always positive in life. No matter whatever happened to that kid, he was positive about it. But this other little kid was always negative. No matter whatever happened to this kid, he was negative about everything. And the father don't know what's going on with these kids because they're twins, but they're so opposite. So around Christmas time, he tried this little experiment. He put this negative kid in this room, nothing but brand new toys. But he put this positive kid in this room, nothing but horse manure. And after an hour or so, he looked in on this negative kid, he's complaining, I don't want this, I want that. I don't like this, I want this, I want this, I don't like that. And the father knew that this kid is gonna never amount to anything, and nothing ever makes him happy. But he looks in on the kid that's in the room with the horse manure, he's got a shovel. He's shoving his horse over his shoulder. He's laughing and singing and having a good time. First thing the father thinking, this kid is crazy. But he asked his son, what's going on? What's going on? The little boy looked at his dad. You know, Dad, as much horseman as there's in this room, there must be a pony at the bottom of it. And the reason I tell you all that to all the war leaves is always grab a shovel. Always grab a shovel, because there's a lot of crap you may have to deal with sometimes. Because in my lifetime, I say everybody know all the awards, but they don't know the downfall that I've gone through. Because I say, I started out in a little town called Wrightsville, Georgia. And I said, if you got 1 year to live, you move there, because that year's forever. Same old, same old. My mom made me feel good because she told me I was big bone. And all those kids know, Herschel, you're fat. And I used to have a stuttering problem that I couldn't put a sentence together, that all my teachers told me I was slow. And they put me in the corner. 4 years of my life, I never spoke in a classroom. 4 years of my life, I never went out for a recess. I sit in that classroom in this corner, never feeling good about anything. A matter of fact, I used to sing a song. And this song used to be, everybody lonesome for somebody else, nobody lonesome for me. Or everybody thinks about somebody else, nobody thinks about me. When the time comes for me to lay down and die, I'm gonna hire someone so they can cry. My mother used to always think, well, you get an awful song like that at? Guys, for years, that's the way I felt. I used to sit in this corner afraid of everything, never said a word. And I remember the last day of school in the 8th grade, I decided I was going to go out for recess. And I remember going out for recess and stuff, and I still remember this, and I'm going to tell you, it's a long time ago, because I'm older than the average bear, but it was a long time ago. And I remember going outside, and when I got outside, there was a kid by the name of Anthony Logan. I still can remember that name. Anthony Logan jumped on me, and he beat me up. I still remember him, because sometimes I'm Facebooking and tweeting and trying to find him today. And he beat me up and stuff, and I remember crying and stuff, and everyone thought it was so funny because this fat, stuttering kid was crying. And I remember getting on the school bus, going on the school bus, and people making fun of me because, if was stuttering, I was overweight, and I got home, and I still remember this. Because my nickname is Bo. And if you ever meet Bo Jackson wanted to be me, but he can't touch Herschel Walker. Anyway. Getting home from that bus, sitting down watching television, and Gilligan Island was on. But I also remember a voice coming to me, and his voice said, Bo, you quit that crime. Said, no one else would ever beat you up again. Said, no teacher would ever put you in the corner again. And that's the day of my life I started working out. I started doing 5,000 push-ups every day, 5,000 sit-ups every day. My parents had a tree in the backyard with a limb about 10 feet off the ground. I used to climb that tree and do chin-ups on that tree limb. I started going to the library, getting books, sitting them in front of me, sitting in front of a mirror, reading to myself over and over and over when my speech got a little bit better. And instead of walking down my head down, I started walking around my head up. So this kid that nobody wanted to even play with, go back into the 9th grade, being one of the fastest kids in the state of Georgia. This kid that the teachers thought couldn't learn, become valedictorian in class. And don't clap because that's only 2 people in my class. I was going up. Everything started going well for me, and this was so fun. I started getting scholarships to go to college and all over the country. Not just athletic scholarships, guys. I started getting academic scholarships to go to college, and I couldn't even spell academic, but I started getting all these scholarships to go to college. But I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. I really didn't want to go to college. I spent time a little bit at West Point. So I want to get a shout out to all our military servicemen and women. To the military. So, signing day for college athletes in February. And I couldn't bring and tell my parents, mom, dad, I really didn't want to go to college and go into the military. So February came and went, and I ain't said anything. March came and went, and I ain't said anything. Easter Sunday in April, my mom come up to me and she said, Bo, don't you think it's time for you to decide whether you want to go to school? And before I could say, Mom, I want to go to the military, she said, but let me tell you this. If your mind and your heart is pure to the Lord Jesus, it really don't matter about your decision, because God will make it right for you. I'm a teenager. I'm like, all right, then I'll flip a coin. Guys, I decided to flip a coin. I flipped a coin, and it came up that I got to go to college, and I said, oh, crap. And I said, well, Mom, because I know everybody wanted me to go to the University of Georgia, so I'm mad at God ain't gonna let me do what I want to do. So I'm not going to the University of Georgia. So I decided to flip a coin between Clemson University and Georgia. First flip, Clemson, Georgia wins. I said the best out of 5. Georgia won the next 2 times. I said, wait, Mom, Dad, wait. I said, I love to go to USC out in California. I love to go to USC because USC was so far from my home. I figured if USC win this coin toss, they'll let me go to the military. First flip, Georgia wins. Next flip, USC. Next 2 times, Georgia. I said, wait. And this is the honest truth, guys. I said, let me pull a name out of a Bible. I pulled Georgia all 3 times. And I said, okay, then I'm going to Georgia. I didn't mean it. This is the honest truth. I didn't mean it. I went outside to play with my younger brother. They called up Coach Dooley and all the reporters. They said, Herschel decided he's coming to Georgia. And everyone showed up at my home that night. And I was too embarrassed to tell them I was joking. That I signed to go to the University of Georgia, and I really didn't want to go. That night, when everyone showed up, I remember Coach Dooley, after I signed to go to the University of Georgia, I remember Coach Dooley coming up to my father and myself, and he said, Herschel, he said, I'm not sure if you can play at the University of Georgia. He said, I'm not sure if you're up for that type of competition. I remember looking at him thinking, dude, I don't like you either. Because all my life, I've heard people tell me I wasn't good enough to be in a classroom. All my life, I heard people tell me I wasn't good enough to play with kids. And now I just get my life to this good dude here, and he tells me I'm not good enough to be on his team. So I said, all right. I remember leaving my home at 2 in the morning to drive up to Athens, Georgia. I get there about 4:30 in the morning. It was dark outside, no cars in the parking lot, because I'm ready to go now. And I'm walking around, there's no cars there, and I had gotten a letter to be there at 5 o'clock. and all of a sudden about 4:45, I'm thinking, am I in the wrong place? There are no cars, it's still dark outside. And I remember running to the cafeteria because that's what the letter said we had to be at. But the letter I got is in the window. Well, I didn't read the whole letter because at the bottom of the letter it said be there by 5 p.m. So I was a little bit early right now. So I remember getting in my car and I turned the radio on, turned the radio off, and I walk around the car and all of this and stuff. And all of a sudden, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I remember this white 280Z drive up. And I remember running into this car and I stuck my hand out like a gentleman the way I would talk to my parents. This bold up Hispanic guy gets out of the car and he said, "Hey, freshman, take my bikes into the room." So I grab this guy's bikes and take him into the room, and all of a sudden I go right to him and he goes, "Hey, freshman, take my car around back." So I take the car around back and then he goes, "Hey, freshman, my car needs to be washed." I'm thinking this dude getting carried away, but I'm gonna wash his car, and I'm out there washing this guy's car. And about this time, this meeting started. I walk into the cafeteria, and they got some guys, the freshman team doing elephant walk, and they got some standing in the corner. And I remember Nat Hudson, who was an offensive guard, that played offensive guard at the University of Georgia. He was about 6'6", about 280. Said, "Hey, freshman," as I walked in, "stand in the corner with your nose in this circle." You know, I'm one of these guys that people ain't gonna make fun of me because I didn't come to Georgia to play no tricks. I came to play football, get an education, and go home. But before I could say anything, this bolder Hispanic guy by the name, I call him Frank Ross, but his name is Francisco Ross. Francisco Ross stood up and said, "Wait a minute, I want to declare I want to take Herschel Walker to be my little brother." And all of a sudden the room get upset. Coach Dooley said, "You know, we have a rule. If you want to do that, you can." Frank, I'm gonna call him Frank because Francisco is not in my vocabulary. But anyway, he turned to me and he said, "Herschel, sit down." I sit down, no one said another word to me. Later that night, I said, "Frank, what's going on? What's going on?" And Frank said, "Herschel, everyone on this team, we had decided we were gonna make your life miserable here. Said you waited so long to sign that we thought that you felt you were better than we were, so we were gonna dog you out." And he said, "But when you got, when I came up, see, I asked you to do all that stuff, said you never said one word." I said, "You should have known what I was thinking of." And now, football started, guys. Guys, I show up at the University of Georgia about 6 feet tall, 215 pounds, running a legit 4.340. And so I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, yes sir, no sir, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because I get a spanking. Not that I don't advocate a spanking, so I'm not advocating a spanking. Adrian Peterson messed that one up, but anyway, so I knew my parents would get to it anyway. So I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing and stuff, but this was so funny. I would always call home because I was a mama's boy. I would call home and my mom would say, "You know, boy, how you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm doing well." She said, "Why don't you hang in there?" She said, "The Lord is making a way for you." She said, "You just stay with it." You know, we heard the coach say you're not doing too well. I'm thinking, where did she read that at? But I remember the first game we were going to play in Knoxville, Tennessee. There was 92,000 people at this game. A week out before the game, Coach Dooley said that we're going to be traveling to Knoxville. And some of you are going to travel with the team and some of you not. But he pointed me out. He said, "Herschel, you're going to travel with the team, but you're not going to play." I'm not sure why he had to tell me that. But I remember getting into that stadium. There were 95,000 people there, but they gave Georgia only 2,000 tickets. But they put them in the end zone so they couldn't be seen or heard over there. So you have all this orange, and then you had the little red and white over there in the corner, like in the end zone. But I remember walking into this stadium. This is an honest truth, and this tell you how good God is. Because my mom told me that, you know, man can't stop what God got in store for you. Because if we're walking through that tunnel, I remember Coach Dooley turning around in front of him, and he was in front of me. Connie Morris, who was running back for South Carolina, was in front of me. Coach Dooley turned around and said, "Herschel, you're not playing tonight, but stay close, you can learn some stuff." And we get in this game, and we get it beat like 15-0. And all of a sudden, that was a chant started. 2,000 people, over 93,000 people. This is an truth, that chant said, "We want Herschel." And Coach Dooley will tell you today, that's the only reason he let me play in that game, because that chant, "We want Herschel." And he decided to throw me into this game just for a little bit. But he threw me into this game, now we ended up winning this game 16-15. So the next week, I got to play against Texas A&M. Now I beat Texas A&M like 42-0. I have 3 touchdowns, 180-something yards. Now Coach Dooley started checking my room to see if I'm going to make my bed up, see if I'm in class. I'm going to find a reason that I'm not going to play. But he didn't know I knew how to make my bed, because remember, I get a spanking if I didn't know how to do that stuff. So I know how to make my bed and stuff. You know, to make sure I was in class, and he didn't know I love to go to class, guys. I can read and write and go and stuff. I love to go to class. I love to crap. Anyway, so I was doing all that stuff, right? So he couldn't do anything to keep me from going. Now we go and play Notre Dame for the national championship. We beat Notre Dame for the national championship. They said, wow, Herschel, you're nominated for the Heisman Trophy. So everybody at the University of Georgia got excited about it. I'm gonna tell y'all another secret. I pretended I was excited. Let me tell y'all the reason I was pretending I was excited. I didn't know what the Heisman Trophy was. I need to let y'all know this. Guys, I didn't even follow football. I never followed football. You know the only reason I started playing football? I grew up in the country. You know, I was 15 before I knew my name wasn't Get Wood. I'm like, I don't know what the Heisman Trophy was. You know, what was strange is, my mom used to make me wash dishes. So to get out of washing dishes, I started playing football. Like, that's a great idea, but it was a terrible idea because they saved the dishes for you later on. Anyway, so that's when I started playing football. So I didn't know what the Heisman Trophy was. So I went to the library to read about the Heisman Trophy. Not that we had iPads and iPhones back then, but we didn't. But anyway, so I went to read about the Heisman Trophy and stuff, and I go, wow, that's a big time award. I said, it'd be great if I won, because, we had a great team. We went undefeated and stuff, and they said I was pretty good. It'd be great if I won that award. They didn't give it to me. If you remember 1980, they didn't give it to me. They gave it, George Rogers. Yeah, who the heck is that too? That's what I said. Who the heck is George Rogers? Going to my sophomore year, same thing happened, guys. Remember, I only lost one regular season game the whole time in college. Same thing happened. I have another incredible year. I get nominated again for the Heisman Trophy. Can you believe that? They didn't give it to me then either. Can you believe that? They gave it to Marcus Allen at USC. I gave it to Marcus Allen at USC. I didn't know what Marcus was, but I knew I was better looking than Marcus Allen. But anyway, going to my junior year, this was so funny. If you can remember this, going to my junior year, I had decided I'm leaving the University of Georgia. I was going to leave the University of Georgia because I said, I've done everything people wanted me to do at the University of Georgia. Isn't it not time for Herschel to do what he wanted to do? So I was going to leave the University of Georgia and go join the military. They remember that was a recruiting office on Bikes, I think it was on Bikes Street, that was a recruiting office. On a Friday afternoon, I was going to leave, go join the military. Well, what was so funny, my mom told me also, God is kind of funny. He plays tricks on you sometimes, so you got to stay up with him. Because when you love God, because God loves Herschel Walker. My wife, I got to acknowledge her. She hated me to say that, but I told her, I said, God, do love Herschel Walker, and I love him too. And you remember they told Mike Pence he was crazy when he talked to Jesus? I talk to him all the time. He and I get along pretty good. Anyway, but I remember I was going to leave the University of Georgia and go join the military. Well, it just so happened, the last play of practice on that Friday that I was going to leave, I was running the ball. I only gained like 2 yards. As I was falling, I went to catch myself, and I broke my thumb. And I remember that bone was sticking up through the skin, and I went, oh man, I said, God don't love me. Because now I can't go join the military. I remember taking my finger, trying to put that bone back into my hand. I couldn't get it in. Now I'm thinking my father going to be mad at me because he got to pay for it. I'm thinking my father got to pay for it. My father was cheap. Like my father couldn't even afford the OR and poor. He was just poor. He was so cheap. Like what in the world? But I went to the hospital and they had what they call a local done. I don't know what a local is. That means they cut the circulation off in your arm. The most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. They cut the circulation off of my arm, and this doctor went to whip my finger around, and he had shot it with these needles, but he got the bone back in. But the weird thing, he had a power decker drill on the table that he got from the Ace Hardware store. And he had 4 pins about this long and some wire cutters that he got from the Ace Hardware store. And he put these pins in that drill, and he drilled in my finger like that, and he crossed them. Then he took the wire cutters and just cut them off. I don't think my dad could do that, but it cost me nothing. My dad. Anyway, I wrapped my hand up, and I was walking out of the hospital. There was a nun coming in. And this nun said, you look like, I said, Herschel Walker. She said, what happened? I said, I broke my thumb. She said, the Lord is making a way for you. I said, you would sound like my mom and stuff. But I got back to Athens, and you know how hard to get here. That's where you get in Athens and stuff. And I was sitting out there underneath this shed. I don't know if anyone been in Athens where the football fields at. They have this shed in the middle of those fields. And I was sitting out there, and they have a fan on me, and the air was blowing like one of those hot days. You know when a dog chasing a rabbit, both of them go the street, it was so hot. Anyway, so I was like sitting out there, and everybody was coming to make sure I was okay and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, I realized how selfish I've been. That all I've been thinking about Herschel Walker leaving, Herschel Walker doing this, Herschel Walker doing that. And I said, I can't leave these guys. This is my family here. I said, I can't leave. And I stayed. We had another incredible year. Now they give me the Heisman Trophy. Now you gotta hear what I just said. They gave me the Heisman Trophy because in 1982, I don't know if I earned the Heisman Trophy. Even at my inception speech, I told them I felt like I was a Susan Lucci of the Heisman Trophy. I don't know who Susan Lucci is, but Susan Lucci was on those soap opera thing that she should have won an award. She didn't win, so they felt guilty, gave her one. Because in 1982, I get to vote today. And if I had to vote in 1982, I would have voted for John Elway. Because John Elway had a great game against Stanford, but I won the Heisman Trophy and stuff. And then I'm sitting in my apartment, and all of a sudden this USFL thing came. And I flipped the coin. So I said the University of Georgia, go to the USFL. And that's when I fly off to the USFL, and that's when Donald Trump comes in my life. I don't know if y'all know, I've known Donald before he became the Donald. A matter of fact, little Donald and Ivanka lived with me during the summer. They lived with me for a week, for 5 years during the summer. Every Disney World, SeaWorld, all amusement park, my family one day traveled with during the summer. So I tell all of you this here. The intelligence of those two kids not from Donald. I talk to them. Anyway, God is always in my life doing things. God is a great man, always doing things. And the reason I tell you this is when you get knocked out, no matter whatever happens, get up. Because so many bad things always happen to me. Everyone always hear about all the great things. There's a lot of bad things that happen. But one thing I've always learned, I'm going to get up. Because I'm sitting there in the USFL, and all of a sudden the USFL goes under. There's a guy that interviewed me in my home in Verona, New Jersey, by the name of Charlie Steiner from ESPN. That's when ESPN was just getting on the television and stuff. And Charlie Steiner said, Herschel, where would you like to go play in the NFL? I said, well, Mr. Steiner, I don't really watch football. The guys, I said, I don't watch football. But I said, I have two older brothers, and they love the Dallas Cowboys. And if I can go play anywhere, I love to go play for Dallas. And he laughed at me. He said, Dallas is not going to draft you because they got Tony Dorsett. They don't need Herschel Walker. I said, you didn't ask me who needed me. You asked me where I like to go play. And I said, that's the only team I know. So he left my home. 5 minutes after my door closed, I get a phone call. And the voice on the other end of the phone said, Herschel, this is Tex Schramm from the Dallas Cowboys. We just drafted you to Dallas. Now I fly out to Dallas, guys. This is honest truth. I played with some of the finest players that ever played football. Tony Dorsett, Too Tall, Ed Jones, Randy White, Danny White. This is honest truth. Randy White played in a football game on a Monday night against the New York Giants. He had a dislocated elbow, a broken toe, and a bad knee. Played in a football game. In today's world, if a guy got a hangnail, he's out for 2 weeks, can't play it all. Anyway, I'm playing with legendary players, this incredible coach, and I'm having a good time. This was so funny, guys. I'm playing all these different positions and stuff, and all of a sudden, I lead the league in rushing. Can you believe that Herschel Walker leading the NFL in rushing and stuff? And I got a big head, I'm pretty cool now, man. Leading the league in rushing. And all of a sudden, I hear someone from Arkansas who's done a body Dallas Cowboys. And I'm thinking, Arkansas? Ain't nobody got no money in Arkansas. Ain't nobody Dallas Cowboys in Arkansas. I was wrong, because there was a guy by the name of Jerry Jones came to Dallas, bought the Dallas Cowboys, fired Coach Landry. Well, how can that affect me? Because I got a big head. I'm leading the league in rushing. Shoot, that can't affect me. But I go off to Thousand Oaks, California. That's where Little House on the Prairie is filmed there. I don't know if y'all know that, but y'all probably don't really care about that. Anyway, I'm out there in training camp. With a big head, because I'm pretty cool, leading the league in rushing. And I get back to Dallas on a Tuesday afternoon. I still can remember this, because on Tuesday afternoon is our day off, and it's about 4 o'clock. And that's when Judge Judy comes on today. Judge White was on at that time. Because that's where I got my law degree at. And y'all don't know I got a law degree from watching those shows. But anyway, I was watching Judge White, and the phone rung. And the voice on the other end of the phone said, Herschel, this is Coach Johnson. Can you come over to see me for a moment? I said, yes, sir, Coach, I'll be right over there. So I got in my car and I rode over to the complex. But as I was going over there, guys, I was known, after 3 years being in the NFL, I was known as a cleaner. Well, not like a mafia cleaner, nothing like that, but a cleaner in the NFL is a player that solves problems. Like, I was a player that I never drank before in my life. I never tasted beer, I never had a drug, never had anything in my system. So I was a player that if anyone called me, doesn't matter what time, I'm going to show up to take you home. If anyone got a problem with their marriage at home, I'm going to be the one to show up to try to solve. So I solve problems. So as I get over to the complex, I walk into Coach Landry's old office, and in the front office, the secretary is crying. And my thought goes, who may have died? I walk into the main office, and Jimmy Johnson was sitting behind the desk, and Jerry Jones was standing by the window. As soon as I walked in, Jimmy Johnson jumped up. And he said, Herschel, we just traded you to Minnesota. What do you think? You remember, I said, I really need to rush. I just biked up, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go outside and think about this. I turned around, I went outside, and all of a sudden I said, you know what? I'm going home. I got in my car and I went home. And my wife said, what do they want? What do they want? I said, Jimmy just told me they traded me to Minnesota. She said, they can't trade you to Minnesota. I'll tell y'all a little secret. You know, you hear all these contracts in the NFL today, they're not all real. But I'm the only player in the NFL that ever have 100% guaranteed full payment, and I can make my own decision what I'm going to do in the NFL. So I called my agent up and said, Herschel, they can't trade you. I'll be in Dallas tomorrow morning. Peter Jones from IMG flew to Dallas, went into Jimmy's office, and Jim said, Peter, we traded Herschel to Minnesota. What do you think? Peter said, have y'all looked at Herschel's contract? But Jimmy never looked at my contract. So he goes in the file, grab my contract, and open it up, and at the bottom of the first page, it said, Herschel Walker cannot be traded unless he consent to the trade. So y'all know what? Herschel Walker hadn't consented to anything. And it's cold in Minnesota, and Herschel Walker hates cold. So I stayed 5 days with the Dallas Cowboys, and I was already traded to the Minnesota Vikings and stuff, and I'm not going to Minnesota. It's cold in Minnesota. You know, black people hate cold weather. I'm not going. So all of a sudden, I'm there, and all of a sudden, Mike Lynn, he passed away from Minnesota, called to Jerry Jones, and Jerry, if you don't get Herschel in Minnesota, we're going to sue the Dallas Cowboys. So Peter came into our home, and he said, Herschel, what do y'all want to go to Minnesota? I said, I'm not going to Minnesota. It's cold in Minnesota. I'm not going. I don't even know where Minnesota is. I'm not going. And he said, you don't want anything, and now you become a bad kid. I said, okay, I'll tell him what we want. You want to know what I want? I'll tell him what you want. I want 2 brand new cars every year I play in the NFL. I want a brand new house every other year I play in the NFL. Saying at that time, I want a brand new wardrobe. I wanted this, I wanted all this. I want to use Jerry Jones plane for a year. And Peter said, Herschel, he's going to give you all that stuff. You didn't ask me what he was going to give me. That's what I want. That's what I want. Peter goes, I want a bass boat. Put it on the list. And Peter said, a bunch of junk that, Peter really want that stuff. Just going to let Jerry know we're not going. So Peter went across the street to the Four Seasons. We were living in Cottonwood Valley. I don't know if anyone been in Dallas and Cottonwood Valley and Four Seasons across the street where they do the Byron Nelson at. So Peter went across the street and he said he walked in the lobby. And Jerry said, what do they want? What do they want? Peter was just joking. He reached in there and poured out these 3 pages of stuff we claimed we wanted. He said, Herschel said you agreed to this. He would go to Minnesota. Jerry grabbed that list and signed it. And Peter said, are you serious? And Peter came back to the house and Herschel, I'm so sorry, but Jerry agreed to everything. And I said, oh crap, no you didn't. No you didn't. But now I gotta go to Minnesota. And I'm a man of my word, so I take Jerry Jones plane and fly to Minneapolis. Now let me tell you, I'm gonna be honest, Minnesota is one of the best places I lived in my life. Terrible football team, great place to live. Anyway, I'm there for 3 years, doing my thing, and God, every year I was in the league, I led the league in something. And I don't care what it was, it was kickoff return or something, or whatever. I led the league, I was doing well, and all of a sudden, Minnesota got all these problems. 3 years after being in Minnesota, now the coaches are leaving, and my contract is up. They said, Herschel, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? I'm getting players from all over the league calling me. Reggie White, the guy named Minnesota Defense. I don't know if y'all know that name. Reggie White from the University of Tennessee, a bad man. Let me tell you, Reggie White is the best defensive lineman I think to play football. That boy can play. Reggie White called me up. This is how silly I was. Just tell you that I'm not valedictorian because Reggie said, Herschel, we want you to come to Philadelphia because that's the city of brotherly love. And I'm thinking, that's the city that love brothers and stuff. Like, yeah, I would like to go to Philadelphia. Now I get this contract to go to Philadelphia, and let me tell you, I do love Philly. That is a tough place to be an athlete, man. They don't like nobody. They boo Santa Claus. Just on this they boo Santa Claus. They don't want snowballs and Santa Claus. I do love those snowballs. Anyway, I'm down to 3 years doing my thing, led the league in Russia, but I play with these legendary players, Randall Cunningham, like like Reggie White, having a good time again, everything's going well. All of a sudden, Reggie White decided to leave Philly and go to Green Bay. They said, Herschel, you going to Green Bay? I said, I'm not going to Green Bay. I said, Green Bay got some ugly colors. I said, I don't like those colors in Green Bay. I said, you gotta look good. If you look good, you play good. Is that not correct? You look good, you play good. I'm not going to Green Bay. Those ugly colors they got, they said, what are you going to do? I said, I got that house in New York that Jerry bought for me. I said, why don't I play with the Giants for a year? So I get this contract to go play with the Giants for a year, and I'm there in New York and stuff, and all of a sudden it was a terrible decision. I'm going to tell you who was coaching there, but it was Coach Reed. Well, anyway, he was coaching there. I didn't really like him too hot at that time. I like him a little better today, but I decided I got to leave here because he's terrible. And this was so funny. I still remember this. This is in 1994 because it was on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30. The Love Connection used to come on in New Jersey at 4:30 on Tuesday afternoons. I was watching Love Connection and my phone rung. And I don't know how I can remember this stuff, but I can. But anyway, as the phone rung, I picked the phone up, and the phone was from Jerry Jones. And Jerry said, Herschel, you got a minute to talk? I said, yes, sir, Mr. Jones. What can I do for you? He said, how would you like to come back to the Dallas Cowboys? I said, Mr. Jones, I would like to come back to the Dallas Cowboys. I still got that house that you bought for me. I said, well, you're going to sign you to go back to the Dallas Cowboys. Now I fly back to Dallas and I'm on the Cowboys again, doing my thing again. Something else happened. Remember when you got to grab a shovel, and God is always working. God is like, you ever seen Rocky? They got like 20 or 30 of the Rockets today. They even created Creed because they didn't want to make Rocket number 31, but it's the same movie. But if you remember in Rocky 5, remember in Rocky 5 when Rocky took that kid from Oklahoma in the box? What was his name? Johnny Gunn. Johnny Gunn taught in the box and stuff. And Johnny Gunn decided to leave Rocky but go to that Don King lookalike. You remember that? But did you know Jesus was in that movie? Because my mom told me, don't watch shows unless you can see something that's spiritual in it. So I can get God in every movie because I like to see Jesus. And I love television. I bring Jesus in every movie. But in Rocky 5, I want to show you where Jesus is at. In Rocky 5, remember when Tommy Gunn, the left Rocky, go to that Don King lookalike. And Tommy Gunn became the champion of the world. And all of a sudden the fans booed him because they didn't really like him. They thought he was a bomb. They didn't like him. They like Rocky Balboa. But Rocky is in this bar drinking with his big mouth brother-in-law, Paulie. Yeah, that's him. He was drinking and drug guy. He wasn't drug, he just drank and gambled. That's what he did. But anyway, they were there drinking, and then Tommy Gunn and Don King lookalike shows up outside. If you can remember that, you remember that scene? He tried to call Rocky to come out and fight. Rocky not going to come fight Tommy Gunn out there and stuff. But then all of a sudden, Tommy Gunn and Don King lookalike walked into this bar. And Tommy Gunn swung on Rocky, and Rocky moved out of the way, and he hit Paulie and knocked him to the ground. You remember that? Was it Paulie? He knocked him to the ground, and Rocky goes, let's take it outside. And I said, he don't realize this is a Rocky movie. Rocky wins in his own movie. Y'all know that. So Rocky and Tommy Gunn goes out in this alleyway, and they start fighting. And as they're fighting in this alleyway, Tommy Gunn is beating Rocky up. And I'm thinking that's the end of the Rocky series because this is Rocky number 5. This is the end of it. That's enough of it. This is the end of it. But as he knocked Rocky to this trash, Rocky is laying in this trash feeling sorry for himself. And the Don King lookalike and Tommy Gunn walking away, patting themselves on the bike. Now this way it shows up. Now you remember Rocky old trainer? Rocky old trainer named Mick. Rocky old trainer named Mick died and 3 of the Rockets go to Mr. T. You can remember that? He died. But I'm going to tell you what happened because I got a chance to read that script, what really happened. What really happened is Mick got to the point he wanted a raise. You know how when you want a raise, they take you off the show? Mick wanted a raise, and they were like, Mick, we can't give you a raise because this is a Rocky movie. This is not a Mick movie. Mick said, if you don't give me a raise, I'm not going to show up for rehearsal. So what happened is when Mick was, you remember there's one scene in Rocky number 3, when Mr. T was coming down the stairway and he said, I pity you, Rock, you fool, like that. And then all of a sudden, Mr. T pushed Mick, and Mick had a heart attack. You remember he had a heart attack, but he was laying in that hospital bed, and that's when they were negotiating this contract. Yeah, they were negotiating this contract, but then what happened, and you remember when Rock came over, Mick, Rock was kneeling down at his bedside, and if you look at Rock's mouth, Rock said, Mick, you better settle for what they want to give you, or they're going to get rid of you. And Mick said, no, Rock. I want what I'm going to get. And they killed Mick off, and Mick died. And then when they did Rocky 4, they came up with Rocky 5, Mick realized that they didn't really need him. So Mick go, can I be in Rocky 5? This Mick, you can't be in Rocky 5 because you died in Rocky 3. And all of a sudden, Mick said, you can't write me up. And then they brought Mick back. You remember Rocky 5, Mick appeared over Rocky, and Rocky laying in that trash, feeling sorry for himself. And Mick appeared over him in that vision. And Mick said, get up, Rock. Get up. It ain't over. Just one more round. Just one more round. That's when the music started. I said, that's the way our life is all the time. I said, we get knocked down. But there's a guy that died for us named the Lord Jesus Christ saying, get up just one more time, one more time. So I keep getting up. And as I'm with the cowboy, as I said, something else happened. I'm lining up with one of this rival during training camp, and the kid across the hall said, Mr. Walker, how you doing? And I'm looking at him, I go, Anthony? It was Anthony Dorset, Tony Dorset's son. I said, wait a minute. I remember playing with his dad, and I was playing against the kid. Then I had Ron Springs son with the Washington Redskins, and John Casey with the New Orleans, with the Carolina Panthers. Even in my own locker room, this is what's so funny. I would walk in the morning, my teammates would go, Mr. Walker, how you doing today, sir? How you feeling? I go, crap, and I get so I decided I was going to leave football, and I was leaving the league in rushing. But this was what happened. Remember, I said, when you get knocked down, you got to get up. Remember, I never tasted drugs before, never had anything, never done anything before in my life. All of a sudden, when I leave football, Herschel Walker had a serious anger problem. And I'm thinking, how in the world can I be angry at anything? You know, I got everything I ever wanted. I don't need nothing, but I had an anger problem, and I didn't know what it was. And all of a sudden, I had a doctor from Africa by the name of Jerry Magazi. But as Jerry was talking to me, Jerry said, Herschel, it sounds like you have something we call DID. I said, DID? What is that? He said, dissociative identity disorder. I said, what is that? So you have all these personalities. So the first thing I thought was civil. And I'm like, I know I ain't gonna learn civil, so this doctor must be crazy. He's from Africa, so what do you know about anything? Well, as I started looking back over a lot of my writings, I write all the time. I can see the anger that I had in me, because I never wrote about joy that much. I always wrote about anger. But as I decided, I said, something is wrong with me, and you guys never read about this. I decided to go to a behavioral health hospital. You used to call it a crazy hospital, but you can't say crazy hospital because HR get pissed off at you, so you can't say crazy hospital. So I decided to go to this behavioral health hospital out in California. And what's so funny, when I went to this behavioral health hospital, I was sitting up there in my first group session, and I go, whoa, these people are crazy. And I said, I can't tell these people who I am, because I don't want them getting out of this hospital thinking we're buddies, and they want to come hang out at my house, but these people are crazy. And I decided, I'm going to not tell the truth, I'm going to lie. And I started lying. I almost forgot who I was. I was lying so much to tell. My mom also said that God may not come when you want him, but he'll come on time. But I got to the point I decided I was going to leave this place until God opened my eyes to something that I said good morning to a young lady that was in one of my sessions. And her name was like Mary. When I said good morning to Mary, Mary turned to me and said, my name is Joan. And I'm thinking, Mary's crazy. So I go over and I talk to the doctor about Mary, and the doctor said, well, Herschel, she's going through what you're going through. She disassociated. I said, what do you mean by that? She don't trust me. Said she had an abusive husband. And so she changed to be someone else to defend herself. And that's what you've been doing all your life. Because when I was being bullied, and I decided to create this invincible person that can do some amazing things. But I never dealt with that anger. I never dealt with any of that pain I had. I never even talked about it. I put it back here. Like sometimes we deal with anger or pain through alcohol or drugs or overeating. Just we deal with it that way. Well, now I decided to stand up and say, you know what? I can't do that. I can't do this. So I went in and started talking and started feeling better, started doing better. And all of a sudden I decided to get released from that hospital. And this was so funny. When I got released from that hospital, this was so funny. When you leave a behavioral health hospital, people think now you're weak or you can't go no more, that you're feeble. Well, guys, something you may not know about me is I created two of the largest minority-owned companies in the United States that are leaving this hospital. I don't know if you know that. And then I started to step into the cage and do this MMA fighting. And also, I've even had spoken in front of 1,500 ministers and I freaked them out to something. Because I said, if Herschel Walker have DID, my Lord Jesus Christ must have DID, and they ain't like that too hard. Because I said, does he not say he's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? And three different personalities, in my opinion, and all of a sudden, you know, all of them think that they know everything with their doctors and all that stuff, but they didn't realize that I got my doctorate as well. Y'all don't know that either, did you? But mine's honorary, but the same thing. But anyway, so I told them that and stuff, and I said, that's what's really going on. So I say those things to you because I said, guys, we're blessed. That no matter whatever happened in our lives, that got to die for us. And keep telling us, get up, just keep going. And that's what I said to all the awardees. Don't ever stop. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. Because I'm here to tell you you can. And as God is my witness, he's a bad man. He's a cool dude. And I want to thank you guys again. No. And one thing about it, and I don't know if I can take any questions real quick, because people have heard so many weird things about me, and they're probably all true, but anyway, I'm going to give you a chance to ask me. I'm going to take 4 questions, and I don't know, do I have time? Because I talk a lot. My mom said, now since I learned to talk, I don't shut up and stuff. But if anyone has a question or want to ask anything about me, because this is the honest truth, I eat maybe 1 meal a day. I sleep maybe about 3 hours a day. I'm as healthy as a horse. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I guarantee today, Herschel Walker can still be one of the fastest guys in the NFL today. That's what I like to do. Do I have time for that? Do I have time for that? 2 questions. So anyone have any questions? Yes, sir. You know, that was very difficult when I had anger issues because I couldn't, everything I got upset about. I have no patience. I had no patience with anyone. And that's what was so strange. I'm glad I went to get help because at the time my wife was pregnant and I was having my first little boy. And if I had not gone to get help, I would have been the worst dad in the world. You know, I delivered my little son. This is the honest truth. I love this. He's older now. He's 21, but I still call him a little boy. I don't know if y'all seen him. He's this. What do you call him on Twitter today? He's like an influencer. If y'all follow Christian Walker, that's my son. He's like, that's my son. He's in trouble all the time. Instead of goes to UCLA, he speaks 4 different languages and writes them as well. But what's funny about it,
free speech, radical free speech, political commentator for pop culture.
yeah, and he's and the little boy, this is what's so interesting. I delivered him when he was little. This is the honest truth. You know, I was there with the doctor. The doctor's on my right side. I still can remember this. And when he was born, he had this long little head. He looked like an alien. I went, holy crap. I looked at my wife and I said, your parents got some awful genes. I know they came from my side of the family. I'm like, what in the world? And stuff. Well, what's funny about it is, you know, no matter how ugly your kid is, you think he's pretty, and everyone knows when the baby's first born, that's kind of ugly. But anyway, I remember the doctor cleaned him up and stuff, and put that cap on top of his crown. And I go, it's not that bad. And at that hospital, 15 babies were born in that hospital that night, including Christian, and there were 2 nurses there. So I was able to stay back there and feed some of the other babies, but I was so proud of my little long-headed Indian looking at the boy. I wheeled him up to this wheel and stuff, and I was so proud of him and stuff. And as I wheeled him up and stuff, there was this little girl that had this round head with all this hair. Like, she was a good-looking little girl. I was like, wow, that's a pretty little girl. And I remember looking at her and looking at I looked at my son. I said, you know what? I'm gonna move this little girl. Because I said, everyone gotta come to this window and look at this little girl and go, wow, that's a beautiful little girl. Then they gotta look at my kid and go, X-File, that's an alien, like whatever. But I didn't realize when I grew up in the country that you can mold a kid's head. Did y'all know that? I didn't realize that my mom, you can mold their head. So every day I was like mold Chris' head, like mold his head. And then I reckon it made him smart because this little kid graduated. He graduated in the 10th grade. And then he started college as a sophomore. And then, like I say, he speaks 4 different languages, right those as well. But, you know, anyway. I love it there. So, you know what? Love your kid. Everyone, love your kid. Kids, listen to your parents. Your parents do know stuff. I'm gonna tell you that they do know stuff. You don't think your parents know, but they do know. Last question, then I'll sit down. Yes, sir. Right? oh, geez, I gave myself to the Lord when I was like early, like about 13, because, and you know, when I can understand the Lord, you know, one of the things, my mom is a minister. My mom is a minister. I have 3 sisters as ministers, 2 brother-in-laws as ministers. So we were talking earlier today, and I said, yo, I grew up with nothing but church. You know, and I don't know if you ever been to church in the South. You go Sunday at 9 o'clock and you stay till about 4. And so you go to Sunday school, but you don't leave. You have to stay there. And, and the preachers always say, well, get ready to close. And get ready to close. And 2 hours later, get ready to close. I'm like, dude, why don't you close? Because my feet hurt. You only have one pair of socks.